Who from the Birmingham lot we're missing, and I think it's probably only someone from Al-Manaqib, but they'll probably pitch up in a little while, I think. So then we can just do like We Are the World, you know, with all the munshids, which might not actually be a bad idea, actually, to do an album, you know, where all of there's so much talent in Birmingham, mashallah, so much singing talent, traditional singing talent in Birmingham. It would actually be a pity for there not to be some sort of collaboration or collaborative endeavor. For those of you who don't know, I am Sheikh Asim Yusuf. I'm also Talib Habib, and I remember saying to people once that I'm sure that despite all the classes and lectures and whatever I've done, I'm sure, in fact I'm certain that I've reached more people through song than I've reached through any class and any teaching that I've done. Music has a way of really manifesting beauty. It is beautiful speech, and it is something that we have a tremendous wealth of in our faith, in our religion. It's something that really we should be manifesting to people more and more. And what our brothers from Al-Musafirun, you know, have started to do, which is similar to, I think Sham, first, certainly from my perspective, Sham were the first group who really introduced the notion of the traditional maqams, the traditional styles of singing from the Arab world into our consciousness. Most of us will have, you know, notions of naats, which is in our blood at the end of the day. But the naat, for some of us, are the more adventurous ones, the qawali perhaps. You know, these are modes of singing, you know, which really have an impact on people. But every community has its own tabi'ah. Every community has its own nature. There are certain types of musical melody, singing, words, lyrics, rhythms that fit with a particular group of people. So the Arabs understand the Arab maqams best, and it has the most impact on them. For Pakistanis and so forth, that the naat, qawali style has the most impact on us, and so forth. Well, I should say. I don't speak Urdu, so it's a bit difficult, right? For me, and the way that I used to sing, it was choral music. You know, that's just how I grew up. I grew up hearing this. I still love hearing choral music and harmonies and so forth, right? Finding your own or our own song, what Sheikh Abdul Hakim Murad called the British Muslim song. Finding our own song is a fundamental part of finding our own identity. It's no more or less than that. Finding how to express yourself in a way that really reaches you and reaches the people around you is a fundamental part of settling into a place. When the Arabs went to Persia, they didn't just take their own approaches to singing, they adopted the Persian approaches to singing. When the Persians went into India, they didn't just take Persian modes of singing, they adopted the Hindi modes of singing as well. And so it has gone throughout the world. And we are in the process, as a British Muslim community, we are very, very young. We are still a very young community. We haven't really been around for more than 100 years. Right? We're still in the process of finding our voice. When we find our voice, when we can sing that voice out to our non-Muslim neighbors, the people around us and so forth, I think you will see a difference in how people perceive the religion. But it's again, you forgive me for the fatwa. The first fatwa I gave today was wajibul smile. Jazakallah khair, I'm stealing it. The second fatwa is this: it's a fard kifaya. It's a communal obligation to find the voice of British Muslims, to know how to sing about the Prophet ﷺ in a way that will touch the hearts, not just of Muslims and not just of traditional Muslims, but of all people. When we find that, I think we may find that things start to change for us. So Don't ever think, and I speak to the munshids, and I speak to the rest of you, don't ever think that this is just entertainment. It absolutely is not. It is part of feeling our way into the land in which we live. Finding a place where you can sit and be comfortable and have everyone else comfortable with you and bring benefits to others as well. The Prophet ﷺ said, as we all know, that smiling is a charity. Why is smiling a charity? Why is putting on perfume charity? What is it about it? It's something you are giving to others. You can't see yourself smile. You derive no benefit from smiling. See? You don't. But I can see you smiling. So I benefit, because when you see people display happiness, display contentment, display joy, you feel that. These things are infectious. This is what we need to do. We need to spread peace. That's the meaning of the word Muslim, is to spread peace. This is what the Prophet ﷺ did. This is why the message went as it went. It went as far as it did. This is why the word of someone who lived in the 7th century in Arabia resonated with people who lived in 10th century Persia, or who lived in 12th century Delhi, or who lived in 14th century Kazakhstan, or who lived in 13th century China, or who lived in 16th century Sub-Saharan Africa, or who lived in 21st century Britain. It gives something. We're in a marketplace of faiths. There's a lot of choice out there. And some groups have got, kind of buy one, get one free specials on. Right? And the question that anyone will ask us is, what do you have to offer? And this is something I heard first from Sheikh Hisham Kabani. He came to South Africa in 1999, I think. Sheikh Nazim came 2 years later. Sheikh Hisham, I think, came to pave the way, and then Sheikh Hisham came to pave the way. He said, what do you have to offer to people? You are saying to people, come to Islam. You are saying to people, Hayya ala al-falah. Come to salvation. They will say to you, what have you got to offer? What are you selling? What are you going to tell them? Well, you get to pray 5 times a day. You get to wake up before you normally wake up, and you get to go to bed after you normally go to bed. You say, oh, I don't like the sound of that. You say, oh, well, you get to give your money away. So what? I've got to buy my Xbox game. What are you talking about, give my money away? Yeah, it's okay, because you know what? You get to starve yourself for 30 days a year. You say, come on, man. What's this? Is this what you're selling? Is this what you got to offer? Don't tell them that. What we've got to offer is the thing you're looking for, the peace you're looking for. It's here. It's here. This is a religion. We often talk about religion of peace. People think that means peace as opposed to war. No, it's a religion of inner peace. It's a religion of being at peace in whatever circumstance you may find yourself in your life. Whether you are at war, whether you are in a state of peace, whether you are in a state of difficulty, or you're in a state of hardship, whether you're in a state of conflict or a state of resolution, whether you're in a state of hardship or a state of ease, you are at peace. It doesn't matter whether it's a storm is raging outside or whether there's bright sunshine. In this house, there's peace. In this house, there is shelter from the storm. In this house, there is shelter from the heat. In the last complete surah to be revealed in the Quran, which was إِذَا جَاءَ نَصْرُ اللَّهِ وَالْفَتْحُ وَرَأَيْتَ النَّاسَ, what? يَدْخُلُونَ فِي دِينِ اللَّهِ. when God's help and God's victory come, God's help and God's opening comes to you, and you see people يَدْخُلُونَ فِي دِينِ اللَّهِ, they enter into the religion of Islam, the religion of God. أَفْوَاجًا, wave after wave. Imam Fakhruddin Razi says about these words that there is an allusion being made here to the fact that Islam is a house. The people are entering into it. It's as though Islam is a house and they are seeking shelter from what is outside in the safety of the house. That Islam is a castle and they are seeking refuge from the enemies, because we all have the same enemy. We are not each other's enemy. We need to understand this. We may understand it. We need to spread this message. We are not each other's enemies. Our enemy is the darkness within. The darkness within every single one of us. That's the enemy. That's what needs to be defeated. That's why the Prophet ﷺ said, you've now come, all you people who've come from fighting a battle, you've come from the lesser jihad to the greater jihad. What do you mean, Ya Rasulullah? The worst enemy you will ever face is inside you. Bayna jambayk, it's between your sides. That's the enemy of all of us. That's the wolf that we are seeking protection from. And we have the protection. We have the shelter from the storm. So why are people not coming into the house? What does the sign say on the house? Does it say, like it says above the tomb of Maulana Rumi, return, return, return again. Though you've sinned 1,000 times and more, return. This is a place of forgiveness. Or does it say, please make sure you're wearing a scarf on your head before you enter this place? Please make sure your beard is the right length before you enter this place. Don't you know there's a dress code? You can't come smart casual here. What does the sign say outside? Unless you go out and take a look, you'll never know. We need to see things from other people's perspectives. This is the first aspect. To understand mercy, you've got to understand the other person's perspective. The Prophet ﷺ said that a believer loves for themselves what they love for their brother, what they love for themselves. They love for others what they love for themselves. They love for people. There's 3 different narrations. They love for people what they love for themselves. What does that mean? What it doesn't mean is I want a nice car, so you must want a nice car. No. It's for me to be able to put myself in your shoes and say, if I was you, what would I want? That's when you're really going to give people what they want and what they need.
Subhanallah.
Not if you only look from your own perspective. Not if you think everyone is like you. In fact, no one is like you. You are entirely unique. You are your own precious snowflake. Everyone is unique. To see from another person's perspective, this is where goodness begins. This is our responsibility. This is why Ibn Ata'illah says, you are exactly where God means you to be. We spend our time wishing we were someone else, somewhere else, some other time. We spend our lives daydreaming about how it would have been if only I was a student with Abu Hanifa. That would have been great. But you're not. You're here. Allah meant you to be here. Allah meant you to be now. Allah meant you to be in your situation. The Sufis say that God is one, but the paths that lead to Him are as many as all mankind. Which means what? Which means everyone has their own road to God. Everyone has their own path. Will you walk with another person on their path for a while? Will you help someone along their path? Not try to bring them to your path. They may not have the right shoes for your path. They may not be kitted out right for your path. But help them on their path. Steer them in the right direction. We come into people's lives for an instant, for 5 minutes, for 10 minutes, for an hour here, an hour there. What do you do when you touch that person's life? You may be the hero of your story, but you're not the hero of their story. They're the hero of their story. Everyone's life story, they don't revolve around your life story doesn't revolve around me. Your life story revolves around you. What's my role in your story? Am I a villain? Am I a guide? Am I just someone passing through? We play a role in each other's stories. What role are you going to play in the story of the person next to you? Will you be that one chance encounter that just nudges them to the right path? Or will you be the chance encounter that just nudges them to the wrong path? That's what you must ask yourself. And this is worth contemplating. We spend so much time doing stuff and not enough time thinking about what we do. And the difference between those who are close to God and those who are just exerting a lot of effort is about how much time you think about why you do what you do. What you are doing, how you're doing it, and why you do it. And our religion is as simple as these three things. What, how, why. What am I doing? If you just pause before you do anything, pause and ask yourself, what am I doing? How should I do it? And why am I doing it? You don't need anything else. These three questions, what, why, how, are enough for you. You'll be like that Bedouin that came to the Prophet ﷺ and said, did Allah really say, فَمَنْ يَعْمَلْ مِثْقَالَ ذَرَّةٍ خَيْرًا يَرَى وَمَنْ يَعْمَلْ مِثْقَالَ ذَرَّةٍ شَرًّا يَرَى? Whoever does an atom's weight of good will see the reward of it, or the consequence of it. Whoever does an atom's weight of evil will see the consequence of it. The Prophet ﷺ said, yes, Allah said that. He said, thank you, and off he went. The Prophet ﷺ said to the Sahaba, that's all he needs to know. He doesn't need it. This man doesn't need anything else in his life. That's all he needs. I was going to be talking about the Prophet ﷺ.
This is all leading to the Prophet.
This is all about the Prophet ﷺ. This is what the life of the Prophet ﷺ was all about. This is why the barakah you see in the life of the Prophet ﷺ was about how much time he spent contemplating. We know this in the shama'il of the Prophet ﷺ, that he was most of the time silent. Or to put that another way, he listened more than he spoke. He listened more than he spoke. And what did he spend his silent time doing? The companions say that a lot of his time that he spent silent, he was contemplating. He was contemplating on Allah. But he was also contemplating on how to bring benefit to people. What is the best way to help this person? What is the best way to benefit that person? What is the best thing to say in this circumstance? Habib Umar, he said once, if you really want to help people, what will help them is your dua in the middle of the night for them. When you are kept awake, you are kept from sleep, because you are so concerned about the other person. And you're sitting there racking your brains, thinking about how you can benefit them. There's a lovely story told about Shaykh Abdul Qadir Jilani, about his murshid. He said when he was attached to the murshid and so forth. He was a young, new murid and so forth. And he said that every night, the murids would be up reading tahajjud. But the shaykh would be in his room. Right? And you just hear the sound. And so he asked, what's that sound coming from the shaykh's room? And the murid said, Shaykh, he snores. He snores. And Shaykh Abdul Qadir Jilani thought, what, he's not awake, he's not like praying, we're all praying, what's he doing? You know what I mean? The Murid said, yeah, no, we're too shy to ask the Shaykh about it. He sleeps and he snores like this. Anyway, Shaykh Abdul Qadir Jilani, he goes and asks the Shaykh. He says, Shaykh, I got a question for you. He says, I hear every night this sound coming from your chamber. What's that sound? Now, can you imagine, you go ask the Shaykh, Shaykh, do you snore in your sleep? Just if you pause a minute, imagine asking that question. Right? The Shaykh said, you're the first person ever to ask me that. I'm glad you asked. I said, what is it, Shaykh? He says, I have 10,000 murids. Every night, before I sleep, I mention each one of them by name. By name. And I make dua for what that person needs. Each one of the 10,000 by name. That sound that you hear is actually me saying, oh Allah, Ahmad has got a problem, he's got an issue with his family, please sort it out. Oh Allah, such and such a person is hungry and they need something, please help them out, etc, etc, etc. So the murids are spending their nights awake in worship of Allah. And the Shaykh is spending his night awake in the inayah, in concern for his students. In concern for creation. Shaykh Abdul Qadir Jilani said, he made a vow. He said, it doesn't matter how many murids I get, I'm going to do what my Shaykh did. I'm going to mention them by name. How many people do you make dua for by name? By name. Oh Allah, bless the believers. Yeah, okay. Alhamdulillah, very good. Excellent. But there's a big difference saying, oh Allah, Ahmad, he's looking for a wife. It's finding it a bit difficult. His ears are a bit big. Oh Allah, send someone nice for him. Oh Allah, Fatima, you know how it is. She's looking for a husband, but no one is exactly the right height. They're either too tall or too short. Find someone just the right height for her, Allah. It's different. Why? Because it means you are thinking about people. And the one person I know that has really kept up with this, I won't talk about my Shaykh because I know what my Shaykh used to do, but Dr. Omar Abdullah, I don't know whether he still does it, but he's American, he studied in Saudi for a long time, he's a Sufi Shaykh, he's an academic, proper kind of professor at university and so forth, but he's got this little book. I remember this a few years ago, I met him, and I said, oh, make dua for me. And he said, oh wait, he takes out this little book from his pocket. He said, tell me your name. I said, what? He said, what do you want me to make dua for? I said, well, just generally, general afia. I said, what's that? He says, this is a book. Everyone who asks me to make dua for them, I write their names down. I write down what they want me to make dua for. And I keep it. And every night, I take my little dua book out and I mention everyone by name, what they want. Yeah? This is what rahmah is. This is what rahmah is. It's to think about others. And this is what really you want to become a wali in this day and age. None of us have the constitution. None of us have the constitution. Sheikh Nazim al-Haqqani, as an example, he did he in one of his khalwas, one of his seclusions, okay, his daily practice in the seclusion was he would read the entire Quran each day, the entire Quran. It would take him 9 hours to read the entire Quran. He would read 125,000 La ilaha illallah. He would read 125,000 salawat. He would read 300 and somewhat thousand, some change, 300 and somewhat thousand Allah. That's every day of a 6-month seclusion. You ready for that? You ready for that? You become a wali? Yeah? We'd be past, if we do that in our whole lifetime, it would be enough. Forget about in one day. Yeah? There's an easier route. There's an easier route. And this is what our Mashaykh have told us. You want to become beloved of God. You want to become beloved of God? Love people. Put yourself in the service of others. And I don't mean big things, I mean small things. Put yourself in the service of people. Spend your time benefiting other people in whatever way you can. Doesn't mean you have to be a big sheikh with an amama to benefit people. Doesn't mean you have to have a wonderful voice so you can sing for people. Even a smile is charity. Even a smile is charity. A consoling word is charity. These are the things that God loves. I was reading some Rumi. Yesterday. And I was walking up the stairs because, and Rumi, I stopped and I remembered something. It's a verse of Quran. The verse of Quran is فَأَيْنَمَا تَوَلُّوا فَثَمَّ وَجْهُ اللَّهِ. What Rumi said was, those who are raw meat can't understand people who are cooked. That's what he said. People who are raw, they can't understand people who are cooked. Right? And I just stopped. I don't know why. And I thought of this verse. فَأَيْنَمَا تَوَلُّوا فَثَمَّ وَجْهُ اللَّهِ. Wheresoever you turn, there is God's countenance. There is the manifestation of God. Because Allah's attributes are manifest in His creation. Wherever you turn, whatever you look at, you are seeing God's act and God's attribute. You may think you are seeing Tom, Dick and Harry. But Tom, Dick and Harry are the act of Allah. And Tom, Dick and Harry manifest the attribute of Allah. It's for you to see the attribute and the action of Allah in those people. But now think about the hadith where Allah says, "Oh my servant," on the day of judgment Allah will say, "Oh my servant, I was hungry, you did not feed me. Oh my servant, I was cold, you did not clothe me. Oh my servant, I was sick, you did not visit me. Oh my servant, I was homeless and you gave me no shelter." And the hadith continues that this, by the way, if you ever want to show a person that metaphorical speech exists in the Quran and the hadith, this is the hadith, it's Sahih Bukhari, right? Literally, that can't be true. And so the believer says, "Oh God, but you are Allah. How can you be hungry? How can you be thirsty? How can you be any of these things?" And Allah replies, "My servant, my creation, was hungry, and I was with them in their hunger. My servant was homeless, and I was with them in the cold. My servant was sick, and I was with them in their illness. By being with them, you are being with me." Why? Because everything is a manifestation of God's attribute and God's action. You want to worship? Yes, perform the ritual worship, of course. But you want to worship? Seek God in creation. Serve God by serving creation. Spread peace. This is the way of the Prophet ﷺ. This was the very first advice the Prophet ﷺ gave to the first real Muslim community, which was the Medinan community. Afshu salam. Spread peace. Spread peace. May Allah make us Muslim. People who spread peace. May Allah make us those who don't spread darkness, who don't spread hurt, who don't spread harm, who spread goodness, who spread light, and who spread the way of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam.